Marcus was just a tired single dad working 2 jobs to raise his 8-year-old daughter Emma. When 3 armed robbers stormed into his bank that Tuesday morning, he had seconds to choose: save himself or protect innocent strangers. His decision would change everything forever. Before watching full story, comment below from where are you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Marcus was a good man. He was 32 years old and worked as a security guard at First National Bank. He had a daughter named Emma who was 8 years old with big brown eyes and a sweet smile. 3 years ago, Marcus's wife Sarah died in a car crash. Since then, Marcus raised Emma alone. It was very hard. He worked 2 jobs to pay for food, rent, and Emma's school things. During the day he worked at the bank. At night he cleaned offices. He was always tired, but he never complained. Every morning Marcus made breakfast for Emma and helped her get ready for school. He always told her, "Everything Daddy does is for you, sweetheart. One day you will go to college and become anything you want." Emma was very smart. She loved to read books and draw pictures. She wanted to be a doctor when she grew up. "I want to help people like Mommy would have," she told her daddy. Marcus loved Emma more than anything in the world. She was his reason to keep going when life was hard. On Tuesday morning, Marcus went to work at the bank like always. He put on his blue security uniform and checked his radio. The bank was quiet and peaceful. Mrs. Peterson, an old lady who worked as a teller, smiled at him. "Good morning, Marcus. How is Emma doing in school?" "She is the smartest kid in her class," Marcus said with pride. "She reads books for kids twice her age." Marcus did not know that 3 bad men were planning to rob the bank that day. They had been watching the bank for weeks. They knew Marcus was the only security guard in the morning. Their leader was Jake Morrison, a tall man with cold blue eyes. The other 2 were his cousins Billy and Ray. At 10:30 in the morning, the bank was full of customers. There were business people, old folks, and families. Mrs. Peterson was helping customers at her counter. A young mother held her baby in her arms. An old man with a walking stick waited in line. 2 college students were opening their first bank accounts. Suddenly, the front door crashed open with a loud bang. 3 men in black masks ran inside with guns in their hands. Everyone could see the weapons clearly. "Nobody move. This is a robbery. Get on the floor now," Jake shouted at the top of his lungs. People started screaming and dropped to the ground. The baby started crying loudly. The old man fell down hard and hurt his knee. Blood appeared on his forehead. Everyone was very scared and shaking. Marcus saw everything happen. His heart started beating very fast like a drum. Jake Morrison spotted Marcus right away. He pointed his gun directly at Marcus's chest. "Yo, security guard. Drop your gun and kick it over here. Do it now." Marcus looked at all the scared people on the floor. He saw Mrs. Peterson crying behind the counter. She was shaking badly. He saw the young mother trying to protect her baby with her own body. He saw the old man bleeding from his knee, looking confused and scared. The other robbers were yelling at people. Billy was pointing his gun at customers and shouting at them to stay down. Ray was running toward the teller windows, waving his gun around. "Fill this bag with cash. Hurry up." Ray shouted at the young teller named Janet. She was only 23 years old and had never experienced anything like this before. In that scary moment, Marcus thought about Emma. He pictured her sweet face and her big brown eyes. He thought about her dreams of becoming a doctor. He thought about the promise he had made to Sarah when she was dying, that he would always protect people and do what was right. He thought about what Emma had said that morning about community helpers, people who make their town safe. He thought about the Father's Day card Emma was making at school, probably with a drawing of him in his uniform. "I said drop your gun. You have 3 seconds. Jake yelled at Marcus again. Marcus had 2 choices. He could do what the robber said and hope they would leave without hurting anyone. Or he could fight back and try to save everyone. If he fought, he might get hurt or even die. If he died, what would happen to Emma? She would be alone in the world with no family except Aunt Lisa who lived far away. But if he didn't fight, innocent people might get killed. Mrs. Peterson, who always asked about Emma, the young mother and her baby, the old man who came in every week, all these good people who had done nothing wrong. Marcus thought about what he wanted Emma to remember about her father. Did he want her to remember a man who gave up when people needed help? Or a man who stood up for what was right, even when it was dangerous? 2 seconds. Jake screamed. Marcus made his choice. Instead of dropping his gun, he quickly pulled it from his holster. "Everyone run to the exits. Get out now." Marcus shouted as loud as he could. At the same time, Marcus did something very brave and very dangerous. Instead of hiding behind cover and shooting from far away, he charged directly at Jake Morrison. He wanted to get the robbers away from the innocent people so everyone could escape safely. Bang! Jake's gun went off with a sound like thunder. The bullet hit Marcus in the chest, right below his left shoulder. Pain shot through his body like fire, but he didn't stop running. Marcus crashed into Jake Morrison with all his strength. Both men fell to the marble floor with a loud crash. Marcus held on tight to Jake's shirt, even though he was bleeding badly and in terrible pain. "Run. Everyone get out of here," Marcus shouted again, though his voice was getting weaker. The bank alarm started ringing very loudly. The sound filled the whole building. People heard Marcus's shouts and started jumping up from the floor. They ran toward the doors as fast as they could. Mrs. Peterson grabbed her purse and ran toward the back exit. Her high heels clicked on the marble floor. The young mother picked up her crying baby and ran to the front door. Other customers helped the old man get to his feet and supported him as he limped towards safety. Marcus was still fighting with Jake on the floor. Blood was coming from his chest and soaking into his blue uniform shirt. Every breath hurt and his vision was getting blurry. But he wouldn't let go of Jake Morrison. Jake was trying to push Marcus off and get back to his feet. He hit Marcus in the face with his fist. Marcus felt his nose break and blood started running down his face. But still he held on. Billy Morrison saw his cousin fighting on the floor and didn't know what to do. This wasn't part of their plan. He was young and had never robbed a bank before. He started to panic. Ray Morrison had grabbed a bag of money from the teller counter, but it wasn't very much, maybe $3,000. When he heard the alarm and saw Marcus fighting with Jake, he knew they had to leave right away. "We gotta go. We gotta go now," Ray shouted at Billy. Marcus was getting weaker from losing blood, but he managed to press the silent alarm button with his elbow. This would bring the police even faster. Billy and Ray Morrison realized they couldn't wait for Jake anymore. Police sirens could be heard in the distance, getting closer every second. "Jake, we're leaving without you," Ray yelled. Then he and Billy ran toward the back door with the small bag of money. Jake was still trapped under Marcus, who refused to let go even though he was badly hurt. Marcus thought about Emma's face and found strength he didn't know he had. By this time, all the customers had escaped from the bank safely. Mrs. Peterson was outside on the sidewalk, crying but unharmed. The young mother and her baby were in the parking lot with other people helping them. The old man was sitting on a bench with someone holding a tissue to his cut forehead, but he was alive and okay. Marcus had done it. He had saved everyone in the bank. But the fight had cost him almost everything he had. His strength was almost gone. His breathing was very difficult because the bullet had damaged his lung. Blood was everywhere on the white marble floor. His vision was getting darker. Finally, Marcus collapsed completely. But even as he fell unconscious, he still had his hand holding onto Jake Morrison's shirt. When police officers burst through the front door 30 seconds later, they found both men on the floor. Jake was conscious but couldn't move because Marcus, even while unconscious, still had a grip on him. "We need paramedics in here right now," one officer shouted into his radio. The paramedics rushed in immediately. They saw Marcus lying in a pool of blood and knew they had to work fast to save his life. "Gunshot wound to the chest. He's lost a lot of blood. We need to get him to the hospital immediately," one paramedic said. They carefully lifted Marcus onto a stretcher. His face was pale and he wasn't moving. But he was still breathing, which meant he was still fighting to live. As the ambulance drove away with sirens blaring, Marcus was fighting for his life. He was unconscious, but somewhere deep inside he was thinking about Emma and trying to stay alive so he could see her again. At Roosevelt Elementary School, Emma was having a normal day in Mrs. Williams' second-grade classroom. They were learning about community helpers just like she had told her daddy that morning. "Who can tell me about a community helper they know?" Mrs. Williams asked the class. Emma's hand shot up high. "My daddy is a security guard at the bank. He keeps people safe and makes sure no bad people take money." "That's wonderful, Emma. Security guards are very important community helpers." Emma was working on a surprise card for her daddy. She was drawing a picture of both of them holding hands under a rainbow. At the top, she had written "My Hero" in her best handwriting with colored crayons. At 11:15 there was a soft knock on the classroom door. Principal Martinez came in and whispered something quietly to Mrs. Williams. Emma noticed both adults look at her with worried expressions on their faces. Emma's stomach started to feel sick, like when she had the flu. She remembered seeing that same worried look on adult faces 3 years ago when they told her about her mommy's accident. "Emma, sweetie, could you please come with me?" Principal Martinez asked in a gentle voice. Emma carefully put her card in her backpack and followed the principal down the hallway. Her heart was beating fast and she felt scared, though she didn't know why yet. In the principal's office, there was a police officer waiting. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. He knelt down so he was at Emma's eye level, just like adults did when they had to tell children bad news. "Emma, my name is Officer Rodriguez. I need to tell you something important about your daddy." Emma felt tears starting to fill her eyes before he even finished talking. "Your daddy was hurt at work today while he was helping people. But he's alive and the doctors are taking very good care of him. We're going to take you to the hospital right now so you can be with him." Emma's whole world seemed to turn upside down. The last time adults had talked to her like this, her mommy had died. Now something bad had happened to her daddy too. "Is daddy going to die like mommy did?" Emma asked in a very small voice. "The doctors are working very hard to make sure he gets better," Officer Rodriguez said honestly. "Your daddy is a very strong man and he loves you very much. That love is going to help him fight to get well." The ride to the hospital seemed to take forever, even though it was only 10 minutes. Emma sat in the back of the police car, holding her backpack tightly and trying not to cry. At the hospital, Emma's Aunt Lisa was waiting in the emergency room. Lisa was Sarah's younger sister who lived 2 hours away. She had driven as fast as she could when she got the phone call about Marcus. Lisa was 26 years old with the same brown eyes as Sarah and Emma. She had been very close to her sister, and after Sarah died, she had tried to stay close to Marcus and Emma by visiting them every few months. When Lisa saw Emma walking into the hospital with the police officer, she started crying. But she quickly wiped her tears and tried to smile for Emma's sake. "Hi, sweetie," Lisa said, giving Emma the biggest hug. "I came as soon as I heard about your daddy." "Aunt Lisa, is daddy really going to be okay?" Emma asked, looking up at her with big, scared eyes. "The doctors are doing everything they can to help him," Lisa said, trying to sound confident even though she was very worried too. "Your daddy is the strongest, bravest man I know. And he loves you more than anything in the world." A hospital worker took them up to the 3rd floor, where there was a special waiting area for families. Emma had never been in a hospital before except when she was born, which she couldn't remember. Everything smelled like cleaning supplies and medicine. There were machines beeping and people in white coats walking around quickly. Dr. Martinez came out to talk to them. She was a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and gentle hands. She was still wearing her surgical clothes, which were light blue. "Are you Emma?" Dr. Martinez asked, kneeling down to Emma's level. Emma nodded, too scared to talk. "Your daddy is a very brave man, Emma. He got hurt while he was protecting people at the bank. We did surgery to fix the hurt inside his chest, and the surgery went very well." "When can I see him?" Emma whispered. "Very soon, sweetheart. He's sleeping right now because of special medicine, but you can sit next to his bed and hold his hand. Sometimes people who are sleeping in the hospital can still hear voices of people they love." They took Emma to Marcus's hospital room. It was small and white, with one window that looked out at the parking lot. Marcus was lying in a narrow bed with white sheets. There were tubes and wires connected to his body, and machines all around the bed that made soft beeping sounds. Emma climbed into a big blue chair next to the bed and very carefully took her daddy's hand. His hand felt warm, which made her feel a little bit better. "Hi, Daddy," Emma whispered. "It's me, Emma. I'm here with you." She took her card out of her backpack and held it up where Marcus could see it, even though his eyes were closed. "I made you a card at school today. It says, 'My hero,' because you are my hero, Daddy." Emma stayed by Marcus's side all day and all night. Aunt Lisa brought her a pillow and blanket from home so she could be comfortable in the chair. Nurses came in every few hours to check on Marcus, and they were always very nice to Emma. Emma talked to her daddy even though he couldn't talk back. She told him about her day at school, about the book she was reading, and about how much she loved him. "Please get better, Daddy," she whispered as she held his hand. "I need you. You're all I have left." The next morning, news reporters started gathering outside the hospital. Word had spread about what happened at the bank. The story of a single father who took a bullet while saving strangers was being talked about all over the city. Janet Collins was a TV reporter who had been working in news for 20 years. She had covered many stories about crimes and accidents, but when she heard about Marcus and Emma, something about their story touched her heart deeply. Janet decided to learn more about Marcus and his family. She talked to people who knew them, and what she found out made her start crying while she was taking notes. She talked to Mrs. Peterson, the bank teller who had been saved. "That man is a hero," Mrs. Peterson said with tears in her eyes. "He saw those criminals pointing guns at us innocent people, and he threw himself into danger without thinking about his own safety. He saved my life. She talked to Mrs. Williams, Emma's teacher. Marcus is an amazing father, Mrs. Williams said. He works 2 jobs but he never misses Emma's school events. At our last parent conference, Emma fell asleep in his lap, and he just sat there holding her and looking at her like she was the most precious thing in the world. She talked to Mrs. Garcia, their neighbor who watched Emma at night while Marcus worked his second job. That man has sacrificed everything for his little girl, Mrs. Garcia said. Some nights he comes home at midnight, completely exhausted, but if Emma needs help with homework he sits down and helps her. He never complains, never says life is unfair, even though he lost his wife so young. She talked to people at the bank who knew Marcus as a security guard. His supervisor said, "Marcus is the most reliable, honest employee we've ever had. He treats every customer like family and takes his job of protecting people very seriously." When Janet sat down to write her news story that evening, she found herself crying as she typed on her computer. She had interviewed many heroes before, but there was something special about Marcus's story. Maybe it was because he was just an ordinary man who did something extraordinary. Maybe it was because of the pure love between him and Emma that everyone could see. Maybe it was because in a world full of bad news, Marcus reminded people that there are still truly good people who will sacrifice for strangers. Janet's story aired on Channel 7 News that night. She called it, "A Hero's Heart. Single Father Risks Everything to Save Strangers." The story showed pictures of Marcus and Emma together at school events and around their neighborhood. But the most powerful part was when the story showed Emma's drawings that were taped to the wall in Marcus's hospital room. One drawing showed a stick figure in a blue security uniform with the words, "My daddy keeps people safe," written in crayon. Another showed 2 people holding hands under a bright rainbow with, "I love you daddy," written in a child's handwriting. When millions of people saw those innocent drawings made by a little girl whose father was fighting for his life, many of them started crying too. Within hours of Janet's story airing on TV, something amazing began to happen. People from all over the country started calling the TV station and the hospital, asking how they could help Marcus and Emma. The story was shared on social media websites thousands of times. Other TV news shows picked up the story and broadcast it to even more people. Newspapers wrote articles about the heroic security guard and his little daughter. Then people started sending money to help them. It began with small donations from people in their local community. A retired teacher in the next town oversent $50 with a note that said, "For Emma's college fund, from someone who believes in heroes." A group of construction workers took up a collection at their job site and sent $500. A wealthy businessman who saw the story online immediately sent $25,000. But the donations that touched people's hearts the most came from other single parents who understood exactly what Marcus had been going through. A single mother from Chicago sent $20, which was probably money she needed for her own family, with a note that said, "I work 2 jobs too, and I know how hard it is to do everything by yourself. Your daddy is a hero, Emma, and you are brave too." A single father from Arizona sent $100 and wrote, "From one single dad to another, you're doing an amazing job raising your daughter. She's lucky to have such a loving father." A grandmother from Florida who was raising her grandson alone sent $30 with this message, "I know the sacrifices you make for the children you love. God bless you and Emma." Someone set up a GoFundMe page on the internet to collect donations for Marcus and Emma. In the first day it raised $10,000. By the end of the week, it had reached $100,000. People weren't just sending money. They were sending letters, cards, flowers, and gifts. Every day, hospital workers brought bags of mail to Emma in Marcus's room. There were letters from children Emma's age, drawn in crayon with pictures of Marcus as a superhero. There were letters from teachers, police officers, firefighters, and other people whose jobs were to help and protect others. One letter came from a class of 2nd graders in Texas. "Dear Emma, we heard about your brave daddy on the news. We think you are brave too for taking care of him in the hospital. We made you a picture with all of us on it." The picture showed 23 children's drawings of Marcus wearing his security uniform with a cape drawn on his back and the word "hero" written above him in bright red crayon. Dr. Martinez, who had been working at the hospital for 15 years, said she had never seen anything like the response to Marcus's story. "People are coming together to help this family in a way I've never witnessed before," she said. "It's like Marcus's act of courage reminded everyone of what's truly important in life." On the 3rd day after the shooting, something wonderful happened. Marcus slowly opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was Emma sleeping in the chair next to his bed. She was holding his hand, and afternoon sunlight from the window was making her hair look golden. Her Father's Day card was still taped to the wall where he could see it. "Emma?" Marcus whispered. His voice was very weak and scratchy because he hadn't talked in 3 days. Emma's eyes opened right away. When she saw her daddy looking at her with his eyes open, her whole face lit up with happiness and relief. "Daddy? You're awake," she said softly, being careful not to hurt him as she leaned over to hug him. "I missed you so much. I was so scared." "Hey, sweetheart," Marcus said, and tears started running down his face. "I'm sorry I scared you so badly. The doctor said you were very brave, Daddy. They said you saved everyone at the bank from the bad men." Marcus shook his head slowly. "I just did what I had to do, baby girl. When I saw those men with guns threatening innocent people, I thought about you, and I knew I had to try to protect everyone so I could come home to you." Aunt Lisa heard their voices and rushed into the room. She had been getting coffee in the cafeteria when Marcus woke up. "Marcus, thank God you're okay," she said, crying with relief and happiness. Dr. Martinez came in a few minutes later with a big smile on her face. "Mr. Thompson, it's so good to see you awake. You're recovering much faster than we expected." "Doctor, what happened to the people at the bank? Please tell me everyone is safe," Marcus asked weakly. "Everyone is completely safe because of what you did," Dr. Martinez said. "All the customers escaped without being hurt. The 3 robbers have been caught and arrested. They're going to prison for many years." Marcus felt a huge weight lift from his heart. Everyone was safe. That was all that really mattered to him. Then Dr. Martinez told him about something he wasn't expecting at all. "Mr. Thompson, while you've been recovering, something incredible has been happening. Your story has been on the news all over the country. People have been sending donations to help you and Emma. So far, over $200,000 has been donated." Marcus looked confused and surprised. "Donations? I don't understand." Emma bounced a little in her chair with excitement. "Daddy, people on TV are calling you a hero. They heard about how you saved everyone and they want to help us." Over the next hour, Aunt Lisa and Dr. Martinez explained everything that had been happening while Marcus was unconscious. They told him about Janet Collins' news story, about the social media posts, about the donations from people all over America. They showed him some of the thousands of letters that had arrived. Letters from children who had drawn pictures of him as a superhero. Letters from parents who admired his courage and his love for Emma. Letters from other single parents who understood his struggles. They told him about job offers from security companies that wanted to hire him for much better pay. They told him about offers to pay for Emma's education at private schools. They told him about a book publisher who wanted to tell their story. Marcus listened to all of this in complete shock. He couldn't believe that trying to do the right thing in a scary moment could change their lives so completely. "I don't know what to say," Marcus whispered. "I never expected anything like this. I just saw people in danger and I couldn't let them get hurt if there was something I could do to stop it." "That's exactly why people love your story, Daddy," Emma said seriously. "You didn't think about yourself. You just wanted to help people even when it was dangerous." Over the next few days, as Marcus got stronger, he learned more about how much their lives were going to change. The donations continued to grow, eventually reaching over $300,000. This was enough money to pay for Emma's entire college education and give them financial security for years. But even more important than the money was learning about all the people who cared about them. Every day, more bags of mail arrived at the hospital. There were letters from every state in America. There were packages with gifts for Emma, books, stuffed animals, art supplies, and games. Local businesses wanted to help too. A restaurant brought home-cooked meals to the hospital every day. A bookstore donated a box of books for Emma. A car dealership offered to give them a reliable car. The most touching gesture came from Marcus's co-workers at the cleaning company where he had worked nights. These were people who didn't earn much money themselves, but they had collected money from their own paychecks to buy Emma a beautiful dress for when her daddy got out of the hospital. "Your daddy talked about you every single day," one of his co-workers told Emma. "During every break he would show us pictures on his phone and tell us about your good grades and how proud he was of you." On the day Marcus was released from the hospital, a wonderful surprise was waiting for them. All the people whose lives Marcus had saved at the bank had organized a celebration in the hospital lobby. Mrs. Peterson was there with a beautiful wooden plaque that read, "To our guardian angel, Marcus Thompson, who showed us that real heroes walk among us every day." The young mother brought her baby, who was now smiling and playing happily. "This is my son David," she said through happy tears. "Every day he talks about the brave man who saved Mommy. You gave him his mother, Mr. Thompson. You gave me the chance to watch him grow up. The elderly man who had been hurt when he fell to the floor had tears in his eyes as he shook Marcus's hand. "Son, in my 78 years on this earth, I have never met anyone braver than you. You saved my life, and I will never forget what you did for all of us." The two college students brought Marcus a photo album they had made. "We put pictures from all the people you saved in here," one of them said. "We wanted Emma to have this so she'll always know what a hero her daddy is." Even Janet Collins, the TV reporter, was there. But she wasn't just there to record the event for the news. She was there as someone whose own life had been changed by telling Marcus and Emma's story. "Mr. Thompson," Janet said, "in 20 years of being a reporter, I have never been more moved by a story than yours. Your courage, your love for Emma, your character, it has given hope to people all across this country." 6 months later, Marcus stood in the audience at Emma's school awards ceremony. Because Emma was so smart, she had been moved up to 3rd grade, and she was receiving the award for being the best student in her new class. Their lives had changed in ways they never could have imagined. They had moved to a nicer apartment in a safer neighborhood. It wasn't fancy, but it was cozy and comfortable. Emma had her own room filled with bookshelves containing all the books that people had sent her. Marcus had taken a new job with a private security company. The pay was twice as much as his old job at the bank, and he only worked normal daytime hours. No more cleaning offices until midnight. Now he was home every evening to help Emma with homework, cook dinner together, and read bedtime stories. The college fund created by donations from strangers now had enough money for Emma to attend any university she wanted. But more importantly, they had learned they weren't alone in the world. They had learned that there are good people everywhere who care about each other. As Emma walked across the stage in her white dress, her face glowing with pride and happiness, Marcus felt overwhelmed with gratitude. Not just for the money and opportunities, but for the reminder that love and courage can inspire others to show their best selves. Dr. Martinez, who had become a close friend during Marcus's recovery, stood beside him watching the ceremony. "She's incredible," Dr. Martinez said as Emma received her award. "She's everything to me," Marcus replied. "She's why I get up every morning, why I work hard, why I try to be a good man every single day." "And you're everything to her," Dr. Martinez said. "Do you know what she told me that first day when you were in surgery? She said, 'My daddy is the bravest person in the world and he's going to be okay because heroes don't give up.'" She was 8 years old, sitting in a hospital not knowing if her father would live, and she had more faith than most adults. After the ceremony, Emma ran to her father with her medal bouncing as she moved. "Did you see Daddy? Did you see me get the award? I saw everything, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you I could burst with happiness." Emma looked up at him with those brown eyes that reminded him of Sarah every single day. "Daddy, my teacher says that smart girls can change the world." "She's absolutely right," Marcus said, kneeling down to Emma's level. "You can be anything you dream of being. A doctor, a teacher, a scientist, even the president if you want." Emma thought for a moment, looking serious like she always did when she was considering something important. "I still want to be a doctor, Daddy. But now I also want to help other kids whose parents get hurt being heroes. I want to make sure they know their families are special and brave." That evening, as Marcus tucked Emma into bed in their new home, she handed him a drawing she had made that day at school. "This is for you, Daddy," she said, giving him a carefully folded piece of paper. Marcus opened it slowly and gently. The drawing showed two people standing together under a bright yellow sun. One person was wearing a security guard uniform and had a shiny medal on his chest. The other person was smaller, wearing a graduation cap and holding a diploma. At the bottom, written in Emma's neat handwriting, were the words, "My daddy, my hero, my best friend." Marcus carefully hung the drawing on Emma's bedroom wall next to all her other artwork. As he turned off her light and quietly closed her door, Marcus whispered a prayer of gratitude. He thanked God for letting him survive to be Emma's father. He thanked Sarah for teaching him how to love completely. He thanked the community that had embraced them when they needed help most. And he thanked all the strangers who had become friends through their kindness and generosity. Outside Emma's window, stars twinkled brightly in the clear night sky. It was the end of another day in their new life, and the beginning of all the bright tomorrows that Marcus's courage had made possible. The 3 bank robbers had been sentenced to 20 years in prison. Emma would grow up to become a pediatric doctor, inspired by her father's example of helping others. Marcus would eventually start a foundation to help single parents in crisis, using donations that continued to come from people touched by their story. But that Tuesday morning at First National Bank would always be remembered as the moment when an ordinary man made an extraordinary choice. It was the day when a father's love gave him the courage to be a hero, and when an entire community learned that the best of humanity shines brightest during the darkest times. Marcus had kept every promise he had ever made to Sarah. He had raised Emma to be smart, kind, and strong. He had shown her what real love looks like. And when the moment came to choose between safety and doing what was right, he had chosen to protect innocent people, just like Sarah would have wanted him to do. As Marcus settled into his own bed for the night, he looked at the framed photograph on his nightstand. It showed him, Emma and Sarah at a park, all three of them laughing at something funny Emma had said. Sarah's arm was around Marcus, and Emma was sitting on his shoulders with her hands playfully covering his eyes. "I kept my promise, Sarah," Marcus whispered to the photograph. "I raised our little girl right. I kept her safe and loved. And when people needed help, I did what you would have wanted me to do, I protected them." In the quiet darkness, Marcus could almost hear Sarah's gentle voice saying what she used to tell him when he worried about being a good enough father. "You are exactly the man Emma needs you to be, Marcus. Trust your heart, love her completely, and everything else will work out the way it's supposed to." And everything had worked out. Through tragedy and triumph, through fear and courage, through the darkest moments and the brightest celebrations, love had guided them safely home. The story of Marcus and Emma Thompson would be remembered for many years as a reminder that heroes aren't born with special powers. They're ordinary people who make extraordinary choices when love is stronger than fear, when doing what's right matters more than staying safe, and when protecting others is worth any sacrifice. It all started with a single father who loved his daughter more than his own life, and who showed the world what true heroism really looks like.